Hello. If you are here for the Dress for Recovery webinar, What to Wear to Honor Body Acceptance, you are in the right place. As everyone gets logged in, feel free to share where you're located in the chat. We'd love to hear where you're tuning in from.
I'm up in southern New Hampshire, and it is finally sunny and warm out today. It's so beautiful.
I'm reporting live from Buffalo, New York. It is quite foggy, but a perfect day for a cup of tea.
Oh, that's lovely. Long Island. Yes, New York.
Throughout the webinar, you are welcome to share your questions in the Q&A in the chat at the bottom of your screen. We'll be taking questions throughout, and we'll save time at the end as well.
See New Jersey, Massachusetts, some New England representing over here with me.
For those just logging in, thank you for taking the time. Just by tuning in, you are putting energy toward learning about yourself and getting the support you or someone you know may need. We are happy to have you with us. My name is Alina. I am the marketing coordinator here at Balance, and I will be your moderator today. Just a bit about Balance. Balance is a premier eating disorder treatment center offering boutique outpatient treatment options using evidence-based practices to provide customized care that best fits you and your loved ones in recovery. Beside myself, I would like to introduce our Balance staff here with us. Erin Dobeg, one of our intake coordinators, joining our webinar today. You may also see Amanda and Andromeda helping you out in the comments. Now, I would like to introduce our presenter for today, Alexandra Carter, Balance's own intuitive eating, health at every size content creator. Alexandra uses she, her pronouns and is a professional actor turned certified intuitive eating counselor and health and well-being coach. After moving to New York City for her undergrad in musical theater, Alexandra spent 10 years working all over the world as an actor, singer, and dancer. Through her own healing journey, Alexandra found her way to the anti-diet space and went on to gain coaching and counseling certifications in addition to starting her own business. It was there she fell in love with content creation as a way to genuinely connect with people, affect powerful change, and share ideas. Thank you so much for joining us today, Alexandra. We are lucky to be here with you.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to be here and to be sharing this webinar with you today. So let's get started. So I wanted to start by talking about what brought us here and what you might be feeling, especially when it comes to clothes and body image, because obviously that's what this webinar is about, dressing for recovery. So body distress has unfortunately become quite normal in our society. Almost everyone seems to be trying to fix or change their body. However, if you are someone that is struggling with food and body distress, or if someone you love is struggling with food and body distress, that dissatisfaction can be extremely harmful to your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. For example, have you ever gone to put on a piece of clothing and then been upset to realize that it doesn't fit or that it doesn't fit the way you want it to? That momentary feeling of stress can trigger low self-worth, low self-esteem, disordered behaviors, and even an eating disorder. So whether you are in recovery, considering recovery, or unsure of where you fall on that spectrum of things, it is essential to address and establish a relationship with your body that allows you to prioritize your recovery and healing. So one aspect of navigating a more peaceful relationship with your body is through the clothes you wear, which is why we're here today. What we're going to be talking about today specifically, so that you kind of know, have a little bit of an overview. Over the course of this webinar, we're going to go over why it's important to dress in a way that promotes a peaceful relationship with your body and prioritizes your recovery. We're going to talk about what influences the way we feel about our bodies, and then go over some practical tips and tools to begin actually dressing for recovery. And these are going to include action steps, places to shop, and mindset shifts to really support you as you try and implement all of these things we're talking about into your own life. Why are we talking about clothes? I said it a little bit, but I wanted to go into some more detail about this. This is an important conversation because it speaks to the unattainable nature of our society's beauty standards. We have been indoctrinated by these arbitrary beauty ideals that teach us that our bodies are not good enough, from how we look to how we fit into the clothes we wear. So it, by society standards, becomes our job to fit into those clothes and standards in order to be accepted or successful or loved, and so on and so forth. But I wanted to kind of break that down because that's a lot of big ideas that I don't think really resonate personally. Um, and the three categories that sort of make up this importance of dressing for recovery are the global context, the human significance, and each of our personal experience. So let's break down what each of those means. In terms of the global context, we have to understand that these beauty standards and ideals go way back and are founded in racism, sexism, ableism, patriarchy, and oppression. So it is imperative that we begin to look at them with that critical eye and understand them for what they really are. Without going on too much of a tangent for you today, I just want to say that to really build a balanced and peaceful relationship with your body, it is vital to separate what you wear and how you look from those arbitrary societal standards, the beauty standards that we perceive as fact today. So that way you can promote tuning into your own body and optimizing your self-worth. That again is kind of a big idea. And I really encourage you, if you want to learn more about body image and the history of it and how it came about, you should check out the body image webinar with Balance founder and CEO Melanie Rogers. I'll drop the link to that in the chat. It's on our YouTube channel. And I highly recommend looking at that if you want to learn more about sort of this global context of body image. Just going to put that in the chat. There you go. So then the human experience, or the human significance, excuse me. The human body that each of us have is ever changing, and that is so normal. So needing new clothes because of body changes is also normal. Although it can feel really difficult to mentally and emotionally adjust to body changes that you may experience, making sure that your clothes feel comfortable and suited to your body as it is in the present is vital to recovery and healing, because it boosts your respect for yourself and your body, and it boosts that sense of body acceptance. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about the significance of dressing for recovery in terms of our own personal experience. So, although it might seem a little superficial to talk about clothing in a recovery space, sometimes when you're disconnected from your body, one of the best ways to reconnect is to start with something that is accessible to you. And I think clothing is accessible to a lot of us, and it may not feel accessible, and that's totally okay too. But by starting with the clothes we wear, we're allowing ourselves to show our bodies respect, even when we don't like it, with the choices we make in regard to our clothes. Think about choosing what to wear to work with your body, or at least show it compassion when you feel at odds with it. Make that choice for yourself. And by doing that, you can create a bridge to healing between yourself and your body. Another way to think of this is it is extremely difficult to prioritize your recovery or healing when you are preoccupied with an uncomfortable pair of jeans or a shirt that doesn't fit quite right. So it's really important to create that connection to your body and yourself by starting off with, how can I make myself comfortable? So I want to pause for a second here because that is a lot of information, I think. Are there any questions? I will check the chat and the Q&A just to make sure. All right, it doesn't look like we have any questions yet. Feel free to ask questions throughout. We have a couple of these pause screens so that we can, or I can answer your questions in real time as we go through today. And if not, we have a Q&A section at the end of the webinar where you can ask questions as well. So how can you dress to prioritize your recovery? What does this actually mean? So let's get into it. The first thing I want to start with is adjusting your current wardrobe, because we want to start with what you have. Start with the clothes that you're working with on a day-to-day basis. So I have a couple of tips and things that you can do with your current closet. The first is review your clothing for functionality and the experience of wearing them. We often look at clothes as a way to achieve a desired aesthetic or appearance, but try shifting how you think about clothing, or how you think about how clothing make you look, to center how you feel in your clothes and how your clothes support you. Think about comfort, functionality, and personality. So I came up with a couple of questions, and I recommend asking yourself these questions maybe away from the mirror when you're wearing clothes or choosing clothes or putting on clothes each day. Ask yourself, does this feel comfortable on my body? Will it be functional for my life and day-to-day activities? So for example, is it comfortable for my commute? Or if you spend a lot of time working with young children, can you easily and comfortable bend to their level? And lastly, does this clothing item feel like me, or do I like it? For example, if you hate the color blue and you don't enjoy wearing dresses, don't choose a blue dress. Let the clothing you wear be a tool for self-expression and also for improving your day-to-day experience. By asking yourself these questions, you're taking the focus off of your appearance, off of how you look, and bringing it to a more intrinsic level with how you feel, if the clothes work for you, and if they honor your personal preferences, which automatically is going to make it a more respectful interaction with your body. The second step or tip I have is to get rid of clothes that don't make you feel good. Wearing clothes that no longer fit can trigger a reoccurrence of disordered behaviors and body surveillance, that judgment that we often feel when we look at our own bodies. It's not uncommon to use old clothes as a means of body checking, both consciously and subconsciously. So hanging on to your old clothes can prevent you from fully progressing in your recovery process, because it keeps you in that place of self-surveillance and judgment. I just wanted to add a little caveat to this one, because it is so important to get rid of old clothes that don't make you feel good anymore. However, I also want to recognize that that doesn't have to be an overnight process. By no means am I suggesting that you should go home after, or head to your closet after this webinar and get rid of all the clothes that don't make you feel good. Take the time you need. Take this at whatever pace you need. If it feels hard or difficult to let go of old, maybe beloved pieces of clothing, put them away or set them in a box, just so they're out of sight and not haunting you. Do whatever you need to do to make space for clothing that honors your now body. And my third tip in adjusting your current wardrobe is to make a list of clothing qualities that make you feel good as you begin to shop or dress for your now body, your current body. I think it's important to make a plan for what you need and what you want to feel comfortable in your wardrobe in a way that honors your present body. This will help reduce anxiety as you shift to that intrinsically attuned wardrobe that we've been discussing. This isn't a shopping list, so to speak. You don't have to go out and buy every single item that you've put on this list. Instead, it's sort of a guide to begin to build a wardrobe that promotes your recovery and centers your needs. And this guide will help you actually center your needs in real life. It becomes more real when you take it outside of your head and give it to yourself as a list, or a list. That's the best word I can think of, I think. So those are some ways to sort of begin to adjust your current wardrobe to prioritize your recovery. Next, I think that the next step sort of in making your wardrobe support your recovery is then shopping or getting clothes for your current body. This can be really overwhelming. So again, here are some tips to sort of begin to explore what shopping for your current body might look like and how to do it in a way that continues to be supportive and understanding of wherever you're at in your recovery process. So first, I think it's important to remember how inaccurate and standardized clothing sizes are. Our system of sizing is incredibly flawed. Clothing sizes are not consistent from brand to brand, which I'm sure we've all experienced. And brands often reduce their sizing options both in stores and online. This is called vanity sizing, which means that clothing manufacturers are basically trying to exemplify the harmful messages set forth by diet culture and society's beauty standards. So the sizing that we see in stores in lots of big retail brands are not a reflection of reality or real bodies. I think it's really important to remember that. A second piece of that I think is really helpful to recognize is that prior to the industrialization of the clothing industry in the 1800s, people sewed their own clothes to fit their specific bodies. Instead of the standardized sizing that we see today, people made clothes to fit exactly what their body needed. So what we have today is this system that makes us believe that our bodies are wrong when we don't fit into clothes, where in reality, it's just flawed sizing. So I think it's important to remember that it would be so different if clothes were made specifically for your body, and taking that understanding into knowing that there's no such thing as a standard body. All bodies are different. So by understanding this, I think you can actively begin to challenge those distorted thoughts and beliefs about your body, and then feel good in the clothes that you do choose to wear. So, moral of that story is our current system of sizing has no determining factor in your worth or your body's worth. Another tip for shopping for your current body is to look for stores and companies with inclusive sizing. Unfortunately, traditional sizing in our stores is very limited. That's because of that vanity sizing and standardized sizing that we've been talking about. And this can be really triggering and painful to anyone who experiences body distress or anyone whose body shape or size is excluded in that sizing. So do some research on inclusive clothing brands and focus on those brands when you go shopping. Some mainstream brands that have begun to expand their sizing are stores like Madewell, Old Navy, and H&M. And then some online stores that are built around this inclusivity, both with size and gender, are Slow, Big Bud Press, and Nettle. And just to be clear, Slow is spelled SLO if you decide to look it up. But those are some really great brands to explore if you're interested in finding more inclusivity in the shopping that you do. You can also try thrift shops, both online and in person. Those can be some really great places to find more inclusive sizing and styles and all of that. The tip that I have is to opt for online shopping. Online shopping can be far less stressful than going in person, which can involve crowded malls or stores, countless mirrors, sales associates who may say things that feel insensitive. So online stores often offer free returns and give you the space to shop in a way that's comfortable for you. And at the worst, you can return the clothes that don't fit comfortably. The only downside of online shopping is knowing what size to order. So I wanted to offer you some options there too. One option you have is to order a few sizes with the intention of returning the ones that don't work. And then another option is to go with a trusted friend or to go to a trusted friend, excuse me, or even a trusted tailor and get help asking for your measurements. Most online stores will have a sizing chart that correlates to different measurements. Now, I know that getting your measurements taken may also feel triggering. So I think it's important to clearly communicate to either your friend or a tailor that you don't need to know the specific numbers, but want their help determining which size you should order based on a company's size chart. I've done this before. I think it works really well. You just bring in, maybe print out or take a screenshot of the size chart, ask for their help determining which size you want. That can be a great way to sort of avoid needing to engage with your specific measurements and make online shopping a more successful experience. Another tip that I have is to avoid the mirror. Whether shopping in store or online or trying on clothes at home, try to step away from the mirror. I know that this is a big ask and it's not easy. I want to validate that for you. But if you can separate what you like and don't like about the clothing from how you perceive your body looks, it can be so helpful. Ask yourself the questions that we talked about in the question above. Is it comfortable? Is it functional? Does it feel like me? Before you check in with your reflection. Remember, how you look is so much less important than how you feel in your clothes. If you do use the mirror, don't let it become a tool for self-judgment and criticism. Let it be a tool to evaluate maybe what you're wearing, but not yourself, not your body, and not that self-judgment and criticism that we're trying to avoid. And finally, I think another great tip for shopping and getting clothes for your current body is to bring a supportive friend or loved one with you. If there's someone that is helpful on your journey, see if they can join you for shopping or clothing try-ons. You don't have to endure these difficult situations alone. This way, you can have the support of someone who will listen to you, be empathetic with your feelings, and help you on your mission to find clothes that support and align with your recovery goals. This can even go hand in hand with that previous one of avoiding the mirror. Your support person can help you evaluate the clothing that you're trying on without looking in the mirror or judging your body. I think those are some really helpful tips in beginning to shop for your current body in a way that is both respectful, compassionate, and allows you to prioritize recovery. Above all, I think it's really important to remember to check in with yourself, especially while you're shopping or trying on clothes. It can be really difficult if you struggle with food and body image. Be compassionate with yourself and check in as often as you can. Take breaks when necessary and go at whatever pace works best for you. If things get hard, try to replace that self-judgment that you may be feeling with curiosity. Ask yourself, why are you having the feelings that you're having? What do those feelings mean? And how can you choose to be kind to yourself in each moment? I think that one of the most important interventions we can have with ourselves is when you feel your thoughts begin to start spiraling, when you feel that self-judgment, that self-criticism amping up, take a deep breath, pause, and get curious about how you can be kind to yourself in that moment. Now, I know checking in can feel like a big ask, especially in those moments of stress or spiral. So I wanted to give you some practical ways to actually check in with yourself while you're shopping or trying on clothes or doing all of these things that we're talking about. So first, I think it's important to set time limits. Start with 5 minutes or 10 minutes and increase this the more you feel comfortable. Try on one piece of clothing and then stop, leave it, move on to something else and come back and do another piece later. Another tip is to step away. Plan breaks into your shopping trips or your trying on and make sure those breaks are full of things that ground you, center you, things that you enjoy that are separate from clothes and your body and all of those things that you might be focusing on. Another one is to make a playlist. Create a playlist to help ground you and gather yourself when things get tough. Music can be a great way to tune out of a stressful situation and tune into yourself and just boost those feelings of calm or ease or well-being. Another one is to do some breath work or meditation to center yourself and improve your mindfulness in the moment. You can always take some deep breaths, take the space that you need to ground yourself when things might feel stressful. And then another one, again, is connect with a trusted support person or loved one. Like bringing a friend, you can have an on-call person to contact when you need some support and perspective in these moments. That can be really helpful. I want to pause again and see if there are any questions. Looks like, yes, there will be a recording of this. It will be posted to our YouTube channel on Monday, I believe. Let's see, let me check the Q&A. All right, it looks like we have a question in there. And the question is, what could I do at fittings or more public events like try-ons when I don't know if I can get out of the outing with body image issues? I think that's a really good question. So I think that an important thing to do would be to plan ahead. If you know you have to attend some sort of social try-on or fitting, choosing clothes that you feel comfortable in to go in is really important. So using all the things we've talked about to make sure that going into this event, you feel comfortable, that's really important. I think if you have a trusted friend, family member, or support person, either that's going to be there or that isn't there, that you can confide in and have sort of on call for yourself, that can be really important. And I also think setting boundaries, giving yourself permission to take care of yourself in whatever way you need in those moments, whether that means, stepping away like we talked about, or having a playlist that you can listen to, or stepping into the bathroom, the restroom to take some deep breaths and maybe listen to a meditation or something like that. And just being mindful of what you need to support yourself, as well as giving yourself the opportunity to be kind to yourself in these moments, because I think a lot of times it can be a conscious choice, and it can be a choice that you have to make over and over and over again. It can be an active choice that you're making, but I think that it will help you prioritize that self-care and the recovery through an event, through a try-on, even when it's feeling tough. So I hope that was helpful in answering that question. Says, I really like jeans and feel they are very me. However, I don't feel comfortable in them and feel distracted by thoughts about how I feel and look when I wear them. How can I reconcile this? I think that's a great question. And I can totally relate to liking how something looks, but feeling very uncomfortable in it. And I think it's important that you're recognizing that you feel distracted and that they sort of take you out of that tuned in place with your body and put you more in a judgmental place. I think that there are a couple of different options. I think that first and foremost, maybe making sure that you're separating yourself from the jeans, right? Like, you're not wrong for feeling this way in your jeans. It's that these jeans maybe aren't made for your body, and there are lots of options. And sometimes it might take some trial and error, but finding, a different company of jeans that fit really well, that fit your body, or, like that brand I mentioned before, Slow, makes custom jeans made to your body, to your measurements. That might be an option. There are also lots of different jean-like materials that they make in stores today that might be really helpful. Some that are more have more give or have less give, have different cuts. So I think that maybe doing some experimenting with the jeans you're wearing and finding jeans that fit your body better. And then I think ultimately, that's sort of the nitty gritty of jeans specifically. But I think that ultimately recognizing, again, your body isn't the problem here. And it may be a, a process of finding genes that work for you, but the genes are wrong if they're not working for your body, if they're not making you feel good, your body isn't wrong. And then lastly, what just sort of popped into my head, I know this is kind of a long answer. I think that then also maybe looking at sort of the experience. When are you wearing jeans, and can you choose something different for certain moments in life or days or experiences, so that you still get to wear jeans, but not in the moments where you know that you're distracted by them and they make you feel uncomfortable, right? Like just evaluating and not judging, but giving yourself the opportunity to really get curious and ask these questions and find out what works for you and what doesn't work for you, because that is showing your body respect. So I hope that that was a helpful answer. Feel free to follow up if it brought up anything else, and then we'll keep going. All right. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, and this is sort of the last big section of our webinar today, is shifting your mindset around the clothes you wear. Because I think we've talked about a lot of practical tips and a lot of steps that you can take to prioritize your recovery with the clothes that you wear. But I think that these are some helpful like tidbits and mantras and reminders that you can keep with you as you work on all of these practical tips and tools. So the first one is reframe your thinking. This is kind of what I was just saying to answer that last question. The clothes you try on and wear should fit you. You do not have to fit into those clothes. If something doesn't fit your body, that makes it wrong for your body, not your body wrong for that item of clothing. This is a really important mindset shift. Not everything is going to fit every body. Not everything will fit your body, but that doesn't mean you're wrong. And so shifting your mindset to reflect this is really powerful, especially when navigating clothing that you have, new clothing that you might be shopping for, and all of the things we've been talking about today. Next tip is the only fashion rule that matters is that clothing can be a tool to present your truest self. All the other rules that may be out there are arbitrary and have been imposed on you. You get to decide what you wear and how it feels. Use clothing to make yourself feel comfortable, to support your day-to-day experiences, and to express yourself. Other than that, there are no rules. And even those, I would hate to say they're rules. They're not rules. They're just suggestions. The only thing that matters is prioritizing how you feel and making sure that you're comfortable in what you're wearing. The next one is to speak to yourself and your body kindly, especially when things get tough. You and your body deserve the same respect that you show other people. Speaking to yourself kindly can make a huge difference in how you feel and act towards your body. So one way that I often recommend people speak to themselves kindly is to speak to yourself in the third person, maybe in your head, maybe not out loud. I don't know. That's up to you. But this can be a helpful tool in separating yourself from a difficult moment. It will give you some needed space and perspective. Another tip that I have for this is if you have a particularly critical inner voice, that self-judgment, that criticism that tends to run on a loop in your head, if that inner voice is particularly mean, give it a distinct name and identity that is separate from yours, right? Sometimes I like to think of my inner critical voice as a mean girl, like from the movie Mean Girls. And doing this can help also give you that space from those negative and unhelpful thoughts and give you the opportunity to engage with them in a way that puts you in power and in control of the situation. Sorry, Regina George, I don't need to hear from you today. I hope that everybody understands that Mean Girl reference. She is the lead Mean Girl in the movie. Anyway, the next one is remember, having a positive body image and relationship with your body is not about loving it 24/7. It's about how you navigate those feelings when you don't love it. I think that's really important. A lot of times we think that positive body image means I love my body, I feel good in my body. But that is not realistic. Positive body image actually means how can I show my body respect when I'm struggling, when I don't feel like I love it? So offer your body compassion by wearing comfortable clothes that allow you to live your life and honor your personality, especially when you don't love your body. By doing that, you can help yourself move through those difficult moments and prioritize your recovery. And finally, my last tip is to get support. No matter how prepared you are or how ready you are to sort of begin to implement these steps and these tools, shopping may cause some sort of stress and anxiety. Getting dressed may cause some sort of stress and anxiety, but you don't have to do this alone, nor should you. Do not hesitate to reach out for support. The tools that are taught in recovery, in eating disorder recovery, in disordered eating recovery, are incredibly useful in navigating, processing, and finding success in situations like the ones we've been talking about today. And if any or all of what we've discussed today has caused you some distress or made you think or made you question, that's okay. There is no right or wrong place to be in your journey, and you can always get support wherever you are. So that is it. And here are some resources that we wanted to share with you. A bunch of different Instagrams that support body image healing, that are body positive, that are geared towards fashion in a respectful and recovery aligned way. We also have the Balance handle, our sister companies Redefine Wellness and Mulaney Rogers Nutrition. We also put my handle, Intuitively Alexandra, where I share body image healing and anti-diet stuff as well. And then, of course, all of the amazing balance support, our mailing list, virtual free support groups, and our phone number. All right, and then a Q&A. Let me see if any other questions. Yes, I have a question here. How to shift my mindset around self-perception. I was criticized for the aspects of my body that can't be changed, like height and body frame type. This affected my self-esteem and self-perception, and I tend to hide. Yeah, I think that that's a great question. I'm sending you so much compassion. I think that it's important that you're recognizing that these aspects that may have been criticized are actually not changeable. I think that so much of our bodies are determined by genetics and life and what we go through, and they aren't actually in our control. Our bodies are vessels that hold us. They're not things that we should be trying to control or change all of the time or any time, really. So I think it's super important that you're recognizing that these things that were presented to you as in your control were really out of your control, and give yourself some compassion for that. But it's understandable that it affected your self-esteem and your self-perception. And I think that you're asking for some mindset shifts around self-perception. Yeah, I think it can kind of go hand in hand with a lot of this. If you're someone that if you feel like action steps are more helpful in shifting your perception, I think a lot of what we talked about today can be really helpful. So doing those things that promote respect and self-compassion and increase self-esteem can be really helpful. If you're someone that tends to lead with your mind and action steps don't always engage yourself in that way, I think that starting with doing some of that work around offering yourself self-compassion and choosing to do kind things for yourself, even when it's difficult. Above all, I think getting support is the best action step for shifting your mindset around self-perception. And whether that means the recovery support that Balance offers, or, a therapist or a counselor who may be able to help increase that self-esteem and self-compassion. I think that that's really important. You shouldn't have to do that alone. We aren't given the tools as humans to navigate that stuff by ourselves. And so getting support and getting help to understand and build up those practices of self-esteem and self-compassion is really important. You shouldn't have to do it alone. One way to get some support, if you're interested, is to book an acuity call with Balance. Whether you need that eating disorder recovery support or maybe something else, our admissions team is really, really skilled and really amazing at getting you the support that you need, whatever that may be, whether it's with Balance or elsewhere that we can refer you out to. So I think that getting support is really important. And then I guess some takeaways that you might be able to do for yourself are really what we were talking about. I don't mean to reiterate or go over the same thing over and over again, but it keeps popping into my head, this idea of trying to show yourself kindness. I think the more kind things you can do for yourself in each moment, small or big things. I like to say oftentimes that sometimes a kind thing you can do is just, getting out of bed, taking a shower, listening to that playlist that makes you feel good. Do small, kind things for yourself and allow those small, kind things to build on each other as you tune in and see what you need in each moment. I hope that was somewhat helpful. All right, I'm just looking at some of the other questions that we had. Yes, someone mentioned that they recommend the book More Than a Body. I think that is a great suggestion. That's a fantastic book, More Than a Body. The tagline is "Your body is an instrument, not an ornament." That is a fantastic book. It's by Lindsay and Lexi Kite, and it really offers a lot of perspective and support. So again, I think that's a great option as well to shift mindset. Read, get resources and learn about the things that we've talked about today. So More Than a Body is a great book. There's also a great book called The Body Is Not an Apology by Sonia Renee Taylor that talks about a lot of this stuff as well. I think that's another great resource to use and to have. Oh, thanks, Erin. Erin's dropping the book link in the chat in case anyone wants to take a look at that. Let's see. We have another question in the Q&A. Pre-treatment, I used to wear crop tops, short shorts, etc. Now I still wear these types of clothes and hope that it will help me embrace my present body. However, I often feel uncomfortable. Is it not body positive of me if I choose to wear more modest clothing at this time? I think that is a fantastic question. I think it is body positive, and it's even more importantly, body accepting to wear clothes that make you feel comfortable. I think that sometimes the message of body positivity can get lost in needing to prioritize how much we quote unquote love or accept our current bodies. And while that's really important, I think what's more important is feeling comfortable within your body and prioritizing that, right? Again, we're trying to get away from this external view of our body and take an internal perspective. So I think that choosing to wear clothing that you feel comfortable in, that you feel allows you to live your life and embrace the body that you have is the most important aspect. And that is body positive of you. That is supporting that body empowerment, is to prioritize how you feel and how you're able to exist in your life over what you look like. Because by doing that, you're getting to experience life. You're getting to do all of the things that often get held back when we're struggling, when we're in that place of self-judgment, self-criticism, distress. So I think that if you're feeling uncomfortable in any clothing, whether it's modest or not, it's not the clothing to wear. I think that always prioritizing your comfort and your how you feel in what you wear is the most important thing. Thank you for that question. All right. Are there any more questions here? Let me check. All right, one more question. Looks like it says, how can we challenge negative body image thoughts and beliefs that may be triggered by clothing? That's a great question. I think that becoming aware of those negative thoughts and beliefs is really important. So if you are in the moment, like we've been talking about, trying on clothes or, out and about, and your clothing starts to feel uncomfortable and you start to have negative thoughts about your body or about yourself as you're feeling that discomfort, the more you can tune into that, the more you'll be able to navigate it from a place of compassion, kindness, and recovery. That's a really hard thing to do, right? Becoming aware in the moment is not easy. So lean on the support that you have, right? If you have a support team, if you have a trusted loved one or a friend, that's really important. And then I think the other side of that is to really work on it. So don't get down on yourself if maybe you become aware an hour later or a day later, like, oh, I was really spiraling in those negative thoughts. Any sort of awareness, building on that awareness practice as these thoughts come up is really important. And it takes time and practice. It is a practice. And as you practice, you'll get better and better. And then from there, once you have that awareness that, oh, these negative thoughts and feelings are coming up, then you can begin to challenge them, to reframe them. That's what I mean when I say get curious, asking yourself, what's the root of this? Why are these negative thoughts coming up? And what can I do about them that will help me instead of hold me back or instead of cause me to feel worse? What can I do that would make me feel better instead of bullying myself or judging myself or criticizing myself? And those can be things like reframing those negative thoughts, like practicing self-compassion, like I've talked about, surrounding yourself with positive influences, with people that support you, with social media accounts that make you feel good. All of those different things are tools to sort of begin to challenge those negative body image thoughts and beliefs that might be triggered by clothing or what we're wearing or, trying on things. All right. I think that's it. So now I just wanted to talk a little bit about the treatment programs at Balance. If you're interested in getting some support, like maybe we've been talking about, or you're unsure, it's great to reach out no matter what. Like I said, Balance is amazing. Our admissions team is amazing at sort of helping you find the next right steps for you. But if you're interested in Balance, we offer several levels of care that provide the opportunity for a really seamless and successful road to recovery. So we offer our PHP program, our IOP program, Saturday program, and group and individual services. And these sort of work as a step down, step through, step around situation. So wherever you need, whatever you need in your journey, is where we'll meet you. And if you are interested, we offer a free confidential discovery call. Like I said, our team is amazing at finding the next right steps for you, whether that means working with Balance in one of those treatment programs that we have, or helping you find referrals for more appropriate care and support. So we will drop the link in the chat for all of these things, if you're interested, for all of the sort of opportunities we have to engage with Balance. And thank you so much for joining us today. This has been so helpful and so wonderful to spend this time with you. So I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you soon.